Hey, it's Tim Talks. We're back. It's a Friday morning. Whenever you're reviewing this, it's your time. Hey, good morning, everybody. So, we're going to talk this morning about layoffs. We keep seeing layoffs. The media loves to announce layoffs, and just like everything, I think the media is pushing this narrative. This recession and it's always about bad, right? Bad sells. I get that. The reality is I saw an economist actually take a look at the total layoff numbers and what's happening because layoffs happen all the time. So every single month you can find some company, right, that's doing a layoff, making a transition. That's been that way for years and years and years, decades. And so there's an actual average layoff number, that takes place. And right now, as of today, we're still below that. But let's assume, right, that, there's a movement happening in terms of potential recession and a downturn in the economy, and there's some things happening. Why? So I take a look at it from the tech standpoint. Over the last really 24 to 36 months, a lot of these tech companies were hiring like drunken sailors. Like literally anybody that could breathe that wanted to work there was in, and they were hiring as fast as they could. And they were hiring remotely in a lot of these roles. So they were hiring people all over the country, all over the world to do things. And once you start to slow down a little bit and get your arms around that, you realize it's really, really hard and difficult to manage the productivity of a workforce that's so disparate and so put out. So there's a part of that, right? Overhiring. So then if you go, we're going to lay off 6% of our workforce, 7% of our workforce, 10% of our workforce, there's a little bit of that that's just like, ooh, wow, hey, you know what? We might have made some bad hires. We might have got a little fat. Let's trim up a little bit. I always believe that any organization, pretty much at any moment, unless you're running super, super lean, could get rid of 10% of your workforce, and you would actually have just about zero impact to the overall kind of operational kind of aspect of the company. Because there's usually that much kind of slack, right, into the workforce that we have. So there's a piece of that. The stock market has made really gone down into the tech world, right? So if you're a tech company and you have a 50% decrease in your stock price, a 60, 70%, somewhere 80% decrease in the stock price, your stakeholders expect you to do something to show that you are managing the business, even though truly the stock price has nothing to do with you managing the business. This is what we see. This is the behaviors that we've seen for decades, right? So this happens. So stock price goes down. Shareholders expect you're doing something to protect the business because, again, they correlate at stock price with something's going on in the business. We know that's not the case. Stock market was just overinflated, but you have to show your stakeholders and shareholders you're doing something. And then the other piece of this is back to as companies really started to understand pandemic work, post-pandemic work, they started to really understand hey, we have some people that are working remotely, working hybrid, who are killing it. They're awesome. Their numbers are through the roof. We have some other people that are really struggling and not producing. Some that are just flat out awful. Some that maybe are just not working at all but collecting a check or working just a few hours a week. And we don't want to talk about those individuals. Right? We always want to say, oh no, remote work is amazing and everybody's productive when they work remotely. That is not the case. And and we're selling a false narrative to our executive team if we're trying to sell that. Even if we love remote work and we're very productive, that doesn't mean everybody else is. So I think organizations are finally really catching up with measurable, true measures of what's happening out there at every single level of every single person who's working remotely. And so now you're going, hey, wait a minute, we got to make some adjustments. And so again, if you go to a team leader that has 50 people and you go, look, your bottom feeders have to go, there's probably some out there. And so it's really businesses taking care of businesses. I hate layoffs. I hate seeing layoffs because I've been impacted by that. I've had to put people on layoff. It's a massive, hard thing to do, but there's a business reason that this is happening, and there's some economic reasons why this is happening, and it's explainable. I had a meeting with about 12 heads of TA the other day and said, hey, Are you guys planning for layoffs? Do you see the recession coming? And they're like, look, we see the storm clouds out in the distance, but we're still hiring like crazy. By the way, was it like Google, like, let go of 8,000 people or 5,000? Like, the numbers become kind of ridiculous at some point. They're kind of monopoly, money numbers. And if you went to their website, what you would see was thousands of openings that they're hiring for. So this just tells you that they're correcting for a few things in certain areas. Ford is a great example. They had a big layoff this week, but they're transitioning, right? They're transitioning away from a combustion engine kind of system and the number of mechanical engineers it takes for that, and going to electrical cars. It takes probably 1 out of 20 of those need to be mechanical, and now they need to hire all these electrical and software and embedded people. So transitions happen, and this is a lot of the reasons why these layoffs happen. So keep your head up, keep working, keep hiring. We still have 11.3 million open jobs out there, which is still about 5 million more open jobs than we had before the pandemic in 2019. We still aren't making new humans. We still have a lot of work to do out there on the hiring side. You guys all have a great weekend. Have a great next week. Prepare yourself. Go out there and enjoy the summer. We'll talk to you guys next week.